50 years ago, 60 years ago, the world lived in constant terror. We had entered the nuclear age, and the very real threat of atomic warfare hung over the head of every person. Air raid sirens, air raid shelters, air raid drills, stored up provisions, doomsday predictions. All of this was a regular part of life in the Cold War era. Everyone had seen the grim pictures of apocalyptic destruction from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and everyone knew what a single bomb was capable of doing, for we had done it. Perhaps no one in the world was more deeply concerned about the horrors of this untenable situation, this unnatural balance of terror, than the saintly, elderly man entrusted with the care of all God's people, an extraordinary man, perfectly suited for extraordinary times, a very human and intensely spiritual man known as Pope John the 23rd. Similar in many ways to our present Holy Father, good Pope John shepherded the souls of the world with a loving touch that has rarely been found in the history of humanity. He was father to all the world, regardless of religious or political convictions. Pope John understood that the world stood at the brink of self-annihilation, and he was determined to do all in his power to prevent it. He knew he was a dying man, and he offered up his sufferings and his very life for peace in the world and the preservation of humanity as his final gift to humankind. Peace on earth was his most ardent wish, his constant preoccupation, and it haunted him day and night. He wrote a remarkable letter to the world, pleading for an immediate end to the insane arms race. Appropriately, this famous and powerful encyclical was entitled Pacem in Terris, Peace on Earth. But he did not stop with prayers and sufferings and words of pleading. As a world leader with a lifetime of diplomatic experience behind him, he knew how important political leaders and political powers were. In particular, he knew the importance of the two great superpowers that had emerged from the Second World War. Two nations living in mutual mistrust and poised for mutual destruction. Two nations headed by two remarkable people, one a Catholic named John Kennedy, and one an atheist named Nikita Khrushchev. With all their differences, both of these men had a profound respect and love for Pope John, and Pope John had a profound respect and love for both of them. He knew there was no one else in the world who could bring these two together and save the planet. And that is just what he did. So often in history, the real history is the story that is never told. The things that happen behind closed doors, in secret. So often, it is personal relationships that make all the difference in the world. So it was here, with an intense, secret shuttle diplomacy between the Pope, the President, and the Premier. Initiated by Pope John, this relationship of brotherly love and respect was quite likely the only thing that did save the world from nuclear war during those times of high tension, times that otherwise might very well have spelled the end of all, as crisis after crisis erupted in Berlin, in Cuba, and elsewhere. Until recently, the secret correspondence between Kennedy and Khrushchev, initiated by Pope John, was quite unknown. It is only now that we have been given a glimpse of the friendship that, thanks to the Pope, evolved between them. A friendship that quite literally saved the world. For me, one of the most remarkable letters I have ever read is Khrushchev's first secret private letter to Kennedy, a long 25-page letter written significantly, I think, on the feast of St. Michael the Archangel, September 29th, 1961. Political differences are passionately and openly talked about, but underlying it all in the letter is the understanding that they have both been coming to, that the most urgent need in the post-Hiroshima world is the need for peace. Peace must be preserved at all costs. I often think, writes Khrushchev, how necessary it is for men who are vested with trust and great power to be inspired with the understanding of what seems to be an obvious truism, which is that we live on one planet, and it is not in man's power, at least in the foreseeable future, to change that. And then, most remarkably of all, the supposed atheist leader delves into an incredibly insightful bit of biblical interpretation when he writes, "There is an analogy here with Noah's Ark, where both the clean and the unclean found sanctuary. But regardless of who lists himself with the clean and who is considered to be unclean, they are all equally interested in one thing, and that is that the ark should successfully continue its cruise. And we have no other alternative. Either we should live in peace and cooperation so that the ark maintains its buoyancy, or else it sinks. Therefore, we must display concern for all of mankind, not to mention our own advantages, and find every possibility leading to peaceful solutions of problems." Well, the Catholic Kennedy was absolutely delighted with this biblical image and agreed wholeheartedly. Inspired by Pope John, both leaders had come to a profound conversion of mind and heart, and had come to realize just how vital peace was in a world that was for the first time quite capable of destroying itself. "I like very much your analogy of Noah's Ark," Kennedy responded, "with both the clean and the unclean determined that it stay afloat. Whatever our differences, our collaboration to keep the peace is as urgent, if not more urgent, than our collaboration to win the last World War. We too occupy a world inhabited by all types of people, an ark housing those we regard as clean and those we see as unclean, the wheat and the weeds, the acceptable and the unacceptable, the friends and the enemies. We tend to see the world as black and white and divided into us guys and those guys. Well, the world is not black and white. The world is far more often black and blue. And all of us, clean or unclean, wheat or weed, experience this together. Brothers and sisters united in pain and fear. All regard themselves as the good, and those who are different as the bad. And this is, I suppose, the definition of fundamentalism, so soundly condemned by Jesus and more recently by Pope Francis. There are those who would love to uproot and destroy all those they consider weeds, to throw overboard all they see as unclean. Well, if a person starts tossing out of his life everyone different from himself, he soon finds that he is left completely alone. No, we are, all of us, wheat and weeds, growing in this same God-given garden. All of us, clean and unclean, cruising together on this ark we call planet Earth. Let's leave the separation of the weeds from the wheat to the master gardener. Let's keep the boat going with all its wonderfully diverse passengers, lest the whole thing go under. And at the end of the journey, when the captain of the boat calls the clean and the unclean by name, and the Lord of the harvest shows who belongs to the wheat and who to the weeds, we just might be amazed to find who has ended where.